Hey guys, welcome back. So this video is going to be about is starting a GHL SaaS worth it in 2025, all right? So what is GHL SaaS? GHL stands for Go High Level. Company is high level. SaaS is software as a service. High level, as a quick rundown, is basically a software that you're able to white label, through your own branding, your own logo on it, and sell it as your own. Okay, so if you guys aren't familiar, go check out High Level. This video is going to be strictly around is creating and running a Go High Level SaaS business worth it in 2025. So, why so many people are jumping into high level right now and starting up a SaaS? As mentioned, it's a white label, software program, CRM, that you're able to sell to business owners. It was, I think, primarily created for business owners, local to medium size. It's not really something for enterprise accounts. SMBs, mid-market, that's going to be your niche. Um, the benefits are basically very low startup costs. Okay. When you're creating a software product, the initial bulk of creating that product comes in the front end, right? You're paying developers, you're paying, computer scientists create a product for you, as an MVP, to kind of ship out to an initial customer base to see if they even like it. The benefit with high level, it's already been proven, right? There's, I think, 65 or 75,000, I think, business owners and companies that are on it, something along the lines of that. But very low startup costs. Their plans start at $97 a month, 297, and then 497 for the unlimited SaaS mode. So in the grand scheme of things, you can have a product, your own software company, for as little as $497 a month, which is ridiculous. Um, why other, people are still jumping on it is because primarily the recurring revenue potential, right? I don't know if you guys watch some of my other videos, but recurring revenue is amazing. Okay, it allows you to have revenue, predictable revenue coming in month to month, and not necessarily having to operate your business from a scarcity mindset. Where is my next check coming from? Where's the next, customer coming from, right? So the recurring revenue is what's so attractive for so many people right now, with high level and being able to, create a product that consistently brings in revenue for yourself, like Netflix, right? Netflix is such a big company and such a high value, um, valued company because of the recurring revenue potential. And then no devs, like I was mentioning before, you don't have to necessarily create the product. The product is already created and you throw your own customizations, your own kind of, flair into it, when you're going to sell it to people, right? So 2025, why do I think it's so unique, for high level? Well, number one is AI, right? AI is such a buzzword right now that, more and more businesses are kind of opening their eyes to automations, AI, automating processes, systems, software, right? So it's very unique for high level right now, and anybody that runs a high level agency or SaaS. Because a lot of the selling has already been done, right? Prior to this, you always had to sell people on, leveraging automation, and there's been AI products that have already been, out in the past 3, 4 years, but it was very difficult to sell. So you have to basically do two sales, sell somebody on why leveraging AI and automation is so good, and then go and sell them on, using your product, why you're the best fit for it. So it's kind of you're having to do two sales in one when talking about automation and AI and tech and things like this. Versus now, it's like the initial why you should use it is out of the way, and all you're doing is selling, on why your product is the best fit for them. Agencies are shrinking, right? Um, you know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and I was also in the space, SMMAs, done for you agencies, lead gen agencies. That was where you kind of, ran with this kind of, this type of business model. Higher ticket, done for you services. One, companies don't have the budgets that they had accessible before. And number two, people want to do things on their own, right? They want to have control over their marketing budgets and their advertising and things like that. And there was never really a way for them to do that without going through, hundreds of hours of trainings and courses and learning Facebook or, ads manager or automations or workflows. Now with products kind of like high level, a lot of that is already built out. And if you can, leverage high level and build out a system that's already kind of built out for them, and all they're doing, you're just kind of going in there and plugging and playing, it's amazing for them, right? So I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I personally have agencies in the last, 12 to 24 months are kind of disappearing. And I've seen some big agencies, companies, doing $1 million a month, $500,000 a month, 2 million a month in revenue. And all of a sudden, they're kind of gone, right? Um, and the other benefit that I really think with 2025 specifically is there's more niche buyers, right? And it's much easier for you now as a SaaS to specialize, meaning, you're able to be that go-to product for roofers, that go-to product for real estate agents, that go-to product or solution for mortgage brokers or, lawyers or whatever, right? So it's much easier, I think, to niche now, but also, bring on more users or customers being a niche type of a product, right? So, top three reasons why I think starting a Go High Level SaaS in 2025 is worth it is, like I said, very low overhead, right? You're paying a few $100s a month to have a product that you can scale pretty quickly. And I've done it, to a seven-figure company, right? You're able to white label a product that's already proven. It's built out. You throw your branding, you throw your logo on it, and then you kind of throw your own little products within there to give it a little more value add, right? And there's tons of support tools around it, whether it's UpHex, Skool, templates, snapshots already built out for your niche that you don't even have to build out. You just buy, copy, and import it into your high level to give to your customers. There's hundreds of companies kind of built around high level to support you, along your journey. Here's what nobody talks about though. Initially, when we started our SaaS, churn was not good, right? We were seeing 20, 30, 40% churn. And it wasn't necessarily that our product was bad. I think, we had one of the best, and we do have one of the best products for our niche in the market. The problem is high level. There's so many different things you can do in there, right? And until you kind of familiarize yourself with the product and its capabilities, your customers are going to also have a lot of difficulty initially kind of onboarding themselves, getting acquainted, and kind of, transitioning their entire business ecosystem into your high level SaaS. So initially, you're going to see, you're going to have problems with churn, meaning, and for those of you that aren't familiar, churn is basically the percentage of customers that you bring on this month and leave next month, right? So you want to have that number low because if they can stay past month one and month two, then the likelihood of them staying for 6, 7, 8, 9 months is a lot better, right? They're using the product, they're utilizing it. You can kind of track their usage and audit logs, things like that. So the one of the most important things with creating a SaaS is your churn, right? So a big thing that helps with churn is onboarding. Okay. You sign a customer today, you do a one-to-one, onboarding session with them tomorrow, get them logins, get them, get them doing whatever your onboarding process looks like. But the problem with SaaS is typically when you run a SaaS, you're going to operate it at a lower ticket level, meaning, you're going to charge $99 a month, 199, 299, 399, whatever. Lower ticket. And the problem with lower ticket is you don't see potentially, your margins are there, but like, profit it's not very high until you stack that user base. And onboarding, look for us, for example, we bring on 15 to 20 new users a week. Having to onboard 15 to 20 new users a week one to one is awful, right? Um, so the problem that, you're going to run into with starting a SaaS is going to be your churn, unless you create a product within your SaaS that allows users to onboard themselves. And what I'm talking about here is some sort of an academy, a, step-by-step walkthrough on how to, onboard themselves within the system, set up, different integrations and logins and things like this. Um, that's what I would kind of say for, to mitigate your churn and really have some sort of a true SaaS here, right? And the other problem, that kind of is with, high level SaaS is everybody sells high level, right? But the benefit for you is if you niche your high level, you're, the go-to SaaS company for real estate. You're the go-to SaaS company for roofers. You're the go-to SaaS company for, solar professionals, go-to for mortgage brokers, go-to for lawyers, whatever your niche is, that's how you kind of tap into that market versus just saying, hey, I have this software and anybody that has a business can use it. You're going to have a very difficult time selling new users and onboarding new users with that type of a, scenario. So GHL SaaS owners who I see crushing it. And again, I'm not talking agency here. Agency and SaaS, I would say, are two very different things. If you're going to try to run a true SaaS, it's important, I would say, to kind of separate it from the agency mindset, right? So the guys that I see crushing it with solely being a SaaS are these three things. Very niche targeting. They have a specific type of customer or user that uses the product, and that's who they're selling to, right? They're selling the pain points, they're selling the solution. They have a very strong onboarding flow. So they know exactly from when a customer gives them money, what's going to happen the next, 1 hour, 5 hours, 24 hours, 36, 72, up until the end of the first month. They know what's going on with their customer. Their customer has a journey, right? That they're getting them through. So very strong onboarding flows. And then some sort of a community or coaching layer to help with the retention. So remember, I was just saying, the best part to kind of decrease your churn, especially when initial, customers come on, is one-to-one onboarding, right? They can see you, you see them, but doing it at volume is very difficult. So, you have a community where everybody kind of comes in and you do some sort of a group style coaching, not one to one, but one, to 10, one to 20, whatever, one to many, right? And consistently doing this, it allows you to support a higher volume of users without having to necessarily do one to ones to ones to ones with everybody, right? So these are the three things that I see kind of are the main drivers in a SaaS GHL specifically. And this isn't even just GHL. This is, I think, any SaaS. Very, very specific on their target or their audience, right? Or their customer base. Very, very strong onboarding flow. And then some sort of a community or coaching that they have layered into their product solely used for retention, right? So my experience running a GHL SaaS, solely SaaS, because I said I've ran the agency. We're not talking about agency. We're talking about specifically SaaS here. It was not easy to necessarily get tapped in, right? Because I came from the agency space. So I initially was operating like an agency owner. Higher ticket, and I still priced it relatively low, but it was on the higher end of SaaS. And kind of figuring out what niche I wanted to be in. I've worked with a lot of different niches. What was the best niche that, I would see, kind of coming in, using the product and actually seeing success. So it took a little bit of time to figure that out. But kind of once I did, it was quick, right? It was a kind of a quick scale up until, we started seeing 20-ish K a month in recurring revenue. And the reason being was Once we had the product dialed in, it was very easy to sell. It was a no-brainer offer for the customers in our niche to sign up, right? So the initial experience was, like I said, kind of figuring out a couple things. What's going to be our pricing? How are we going to sell this? I didn't want to create another sales team. I wanted, one kind of sales event happening on a weekly basis. So it was like creating the webinar deck, and then, kind of creating our initial offer on our ads and, improving show rates to get people to the webinar. Then off of the webinar, what are we going to charge for pricing? And then creating some sort of a bump product. So there was a few, different steps that went into that. But once we kind of got it all dialed in, it was, night and day between operating an agency and then operating a SaaS. Now we have probably 130 users, I would say, active. Um, and I will personally say I probably work 4 to 6 hours a week. I do 2 coaching calls a week, group style. If people want to join it, great. If they don't, no problem. If they have some questions that they, need answered, they throw it in the Skool community. I answer it. It takes me, 7 seconds to answer their question. And kind of after that, it's not too much involved in mine. A couple support emails here and there. And like I said, very, a night and day transition from coming, from the seven-figure agency, producing a lot of revenue, processing a lot of revenue to kind of a lower ticket, not as much revenue, but way better, you know, work lifestyle, but also, margins and profit that you see on those subscriptions. So that's been kind of my experience. I would probably say, people who are operating a true high level SaaS are going to kind of say the same thing. Um, who I would say should and should not start a high level SaaS. A high level SaaS is great for solopreneurs, closers, so people that are doing sales, have done sales, can sell themselves. If you can sell yourself, if you worked for a company and you've sold for them, you might as well sell your own product, right? So if you can do your initial sales kind of first, get some revenue coming in, and build up that user base, that's amazing because from there you kind of know you can kind of test what's works, what's not working. And then if you want to hire a sales team, you can start training guys, bringing them in and overseeing that. If you're niched, if you're an expert in some sort of a niche, I would say this is a great thing, for you to kind of learn about and get into. It's not great for somebody who's looking for kind of hands-off passive income, meaning, you set something up once and you don't work at all. Like I said, I still work consistently, not many hours, but I oversee a lot of things, whether it's our ads, whether it's our, sales, whether it's our, churn, whether it's our rebills, whether it's our, funnel analytics. I do a lot of back end oversight on the operations of the company. And it takes, right, it's some time, but for me, I enjoy doing it. Even if I didn't need to do it, I would still be doing it because I enjoy it. I like to know what's going on. I like to see what's happening. Where can we optimize things? Where can we improve things? So for me, it's like I said, I would say it's not a great opportunity for you to get into, or a business to potentially start if you're looking for solely, hands off, completely hands off passive income, right? So if you are looking to kind of learn more about this, like I said, if you've watched my other videos, we have a free Skool community. It's completely free. You can join it. There's some other, people. I think we have like 200 people in there. There's, a good majority of them are already running a high level SaaS. So it's great to kind of collaborate, ask some other people questions. Me and my business partner are also in there. We're always answering questions. We don't charge for it. It's completely free. Like I said, this is not our main thing. We have a fully functional, profitable SaaS business that we're currently in scale mode with. So, this is kind of just a fun thing for us, I guess. But we do have some trainings in there, and then a, kind of GHL setup and walkthrough video in there and course. So, like I said, if you guys are interested, feel free to join the community. Come say what's up. You don't like it, you can always leave. Um, And yeah, we'll see you guys in our next one. Bye.